Hello coders, welcome to another YouTube tutorial. After the end of this tutorial, you'll be able to create a WeChat application. You can see here, I can send a message and my application is listening to an event. You see, the application is listening to an event that is happening. So we implemented with a real-time Appwrite class. So let's get started. We want to create a method to get messages, so we can do that in our notifier, which is our view module. So let's create a new method called getMessages. It does not return anything and it is async. Then let's add our try catch as usual. So we want to get the list of messages. This is the list of the messages. So we want to get a message by sernderUserId and the receiver user ID and also the opposite. So let's do that. This is the query that you want to do. So we can say, we can just copy here. Okay, let's just say underscore databases dot list documents. We are now using a new method which is a list documents, where we can use a query strings dot document ID, database ID, and the collection name, which is messages collection. We want to read from the messages collection. And also, after doing this, we want to use query. So that's the first time we use queries. So a query, it's an array. So our first query, it's going to be, we can say query, and then dot equal. So the attribute that you want to search, we have this sendUserId. We just copy this one and come back here. This is the attribute, and from this attribute we want to search whereby state is equal to my user ID and state is equal to friend user ID. This is the first query. Then another query is this one. We want to do the opposite, but here it's a receiver who was receiving. So we want to read all the message whereby the user ID can this or can be this or this, or the receiver can be this or this, only for two matching numbers. Then here receiver ID is just the same. Here user ID or friend ID, it must match this. Then after doing this, we want to query dot order by descending order. We want to order by in descending order of the created date. So here we have this field which is a created at, and you can see that field. If you go to the document, there's a field, this one. So we want to order in descending order so that we can have the latest messages first. So after doing this, we can add await. Sorry for that. We just say await, and you can see the return type, it's a document list. So here it's a document list. So once we have this document list, we want to check if the total of the document is greater than 0. It means it has something. Total is greater than 0, it means we have the message matching those two phone numbers. Then once we do this, let's just write a for loop. For, I think it's document here, document in document list, and it's document list dot documents, right? Here document. So we want, after doing this, we now have each document, and each document is of type message, where we send a message. Let's go to where we send a message is of this type. So we can copy this message from JSON, which is a document dot data, and we map this to a document, to a message. This is the message. So we want to add this into a list. We want to have into a set, so that we can avoid duplicates of messages. So we can use a set here. So we can come here, or just above here. Yeah, we just say set of this type, and will be messages. So after doing this, we can now say messages dot add. So after adding this, after we added our messages, we want to display these messages to our view. So we can do this here. So before we do this here, we want to notify our notifier. Here we have a notifier. This state, on this state, we want to add a list of what? A list of set here. So what we can do, we just duplicate this, and the default of a set is, by default, it will be empty, and it will be a set, and a set of message. What is the name of the message? Appwrite, the name of the class. Let's delete this, and here we just say messages. So we want to have a list of messages, but updating this, we can have a constraints, like when things are in here, we can't modify this list. So for us to be able to modify the state of this one, in our freezed here, we must use a freezed class. So here we just say freezed, and in here we just say make collection unmodifiable for false. So we want to be able to modify the collection from this we want to modify our messages for this state. So if it's true, we'll not be able to update these messages each time we get our messages from the database. So after doing this, let's just copy this and go to the terminal and try to run this. Yeah, after running this, we can come back to our model and go back here. So after doing this, we want to copy our state, what we have in our state. We just say state, our new state equals to state dot copy with, and we want to copy. We now have the messages. We now have these messages, and we can add this these messages here. So after doing this, we'll be able to get new messages to our view. So our view will be listening to these messages. So let's go back to our screen, message screen. Here we created a send message. So here let's create a get messages method. So we just copy, we want the friend user ID, this one always, and the notifier, we just say get messages. So by doing this, we'll be able to get messages. So on our initial, when you launch this page, the message screen, we want to call that method get messages, but this consumer widget that we're using does not have a state. So we want to modify this one to a different state. We want to use consumer stateful widget. So let's do that. So we can do this, just do this here. And after doing this here, we can say underscore. Let's start with this one, state. And from on the state, let's do this here, right? And this one must extend a state, a consumer state. Here it was extending a consumer widget, so you must extend a consumer state. In this, the state here will be MessageScreen, like the normal that you do for stateful widget. And here we must extend a consumer stateful widget. And we want to copy this and put it here. And also let's copy this also. And we have one error. We must add the method which is create state. So let's add this method. So it's a consumer state. And it's of type MessageScreen, because this one is a what? Then here we just say create state. Then we want to return this method, which is this one, full colon. And let's add the here it's going to be display name, comma, my user ID equals to my user ID, friend ID equals to friend user ID. So after doing this, yeah, we can leave as it is now. And here, because when we extend the consumer state, so we must now this override does not have a bill, a reference, a widget reference, so we can remove this. So after doing this, let's add our init state. Let's add our init state here. So in our init state, you just type init state. I hope it will override. Let's try to override. Go to generate, then you click override. I think we have the init state. Now we have the init state, and it will be super init state. Let's call this super first. And we want to call this get messages when we get into this, but we want to delay a bit because we are depending on this. So we want to wait for our image to update. So let's say future dot delay, and we can delay with duration. In terms of seconds, we just say 3. Let's delay with 3 seconds, and let's add the implementation. This one, let's paste our message, which is get message, and put a semicolon here. So we can delay by 3 seconds, then we can get our message. Let's add a constant, and we can be able to use the notifier. After a delay, everything will be initialized. So by doing this, we'll be able to get messages. So let's go to the messages here. So after doing this, we shall have an exception here. So we'll see the exception because we did not index the sender user ID and receiver user ID. So let's test this. So the application is now running. So let's go here. Let's refresh here. Let's click this. We see we have an exception here, which is sender user ID and receiver ID. So we didn't manage to pull the messages for this user and our friend user. So let's go to the view here, and we go to indexes. Let's create a new index, and the key, the attribute sender user ID. Let's add another one, which is receiver user ID, and we can call it index sender and receiver. Then we can create this. So let's go back. So after doing this, we want to see if we are able to get the messages. So for this, we want to save, then we want to just see, we want to loop and see the number of messages that we are going to have after this. So let's say print, let's print the number of messages that we have. Then not this state dot messages length like this. So let's just go back and come again. You see, so far we only have 2 messages. So these are the 2 messages with the combination of these 2 numbers. So what we want to do now, let's go back again. We want to be able to listen. So the real time, we want to implement the real time. So for when we launch, when we get into the view, into our screen, message screen, we just call this message. But when someone sends a message, we don't know if we have a message. So we want to implement the real-time subscription. So here we want to add a subscription, a real-time subscription. So by default, it will be a now. Let's import this from here. So we have our real-time subscription, and we want to be able to subscribe to our real-time. So from this reference, we want to subscribe. So just say subscription, and you want to read from a provider, which here this one was a message provider. So let's go to the providers, core providers. We have the account provider. So let's copy this. We have the database. Let's copy the database, and this one will be a real-time. So let's paste this one, and this one will be real-time provider. And create this. And here it will be real-time. We want to use the real-time from Appwrite method, and this here is a real-time provider. So we can go back to our screen, and here it's a read. We want to read from real-time, so we can import this. So we can import this. After importing, we have the subscription, and here it's not subscription, it's supposed to be real-time. So here you just do this. Sorry for that, the wrong method, and we assign this to a real-time, right? So we want to create a new method, which is the method to listen, void listen real-time messages. So this is what we were waiting for. So in this method, we are going to listen to all the messages. So to be able to listen to to messages, so we have this subscription that we have, right? And it's a real-time dot subscribe, and here a list of channels. So put an array like this. This can be now. So if it's now, we want to proceed. If it's not, we can subscribe to it. So for a return now, we want to listen to a certain collection. So there are two collections in our collection where we created this charted collection, right? If you remember, we have this collection whereby if two people are communicating, the ID of that person will be sender ID and receiver ID. For the another head, it's also the opposite, but vice versa of the ID. So if you check the document ID here, if we click here, you can see this ID is the combination of two numbers, and for the other one, it's just the same, but it's a vice versa. So this is the ID that you want to listen. So we want to listen for everything that is happening to each head. We can know that either one of the users send a message. So one of the users send a message, we then listen to the messages and we can send a call to get new messages, because we know that here there's a new message, something updated here. And also we are listening to, even the message is the same, but the time of sending will be different, so it will also update. So let's create that that key. So we just say databases dot dollar. We want to listen to a database which is strings dot. Let's import this. We want to listen to the database, into our database, and also dot collections. It means to our collections, and we need a collection ID also here. We can just say dot, we just copy this, and the collection that we want to listen here it's a chat message, chat ID, and in this collection we want to listen to a certain document. So it's a document, and we can paste. So here we want to listen to a certain key. So we are going to have a key here. So we just say key, and then we put a comma. We can listen to multiple documents, and here we can say key 2. So our key is here. It's a combination, like what I told you. It's a combination of key equals to like this dollar. It's going to be a friend user ID and my user ID. So let's delete this. It's necessary because it's a friend user ID and my user ID. This is the first key. And the second key, it's a vice versa of this key. And here it will be, then here it will be key 2. So right now we are listening to these two keys. So friend user ID and a phone number. If your friend is this one and your phone number, we just concatenate these two. This is the key. And for this opposite one, and this is the key. So now we can use the subscription method to listen to the changes. Subscription, here stream dot listen, here it doesn't matter, it's just a response, the response that we get when we are listening. So in this we can print this, we can print the response dot payload. There's a lot in that. So after, if there's something happened, then we can call our method get messages, and we can get the latest messages. So let's run this. We'll see our application will be able to listen. We can come here, click here. So the problem is that we didn't call this method listen messages. That's why it didn't listen anything. So let's go. You are supposed to see the keys. So it's supposed let's call this method into our build screen. Where's our ref? I'm looking for here. We just listen. So after we initialize our real time, then we call this method because we want to use this real time to subscribe. So let's save this. As you can see now, we are now listening to any change that happens there. So if I come here, I want to show you that this thing is now real time. Since you are listening to this, you can see, let me clear here. I want to modify something here. Hi, how are you? Let me click here. How are you again? Test real time, test, just type test and click update. You see, we are listening to that, and we get new messages, and our messages are still true. We still have two messages because it was just an update of the existing message that we currently have. So even if I change this one, because I'm listening also to my friends chatted like this, and then click update, you see it managed to do some to listen to the to the multiple heads. So that's why we created those two heads. So let me do a fast forward and let me create our view so that we can view our messages here in our screen. So you can just copy the logic and you can create your own implement. You can customize your view to list message, and I'll explain after I'm done here. Yes, we can continue. I managed to do the design for reading our messages. So these are the messages that we are reading from here. So for the design, you can implement so to save time. I just create it faster, and so this is the message. So the flow will be like this. We'll be listening to our. Let's go to our flex. Here we on our flexible we removed the child, which was a container. We added a list view builder. A list view, we're going to have each items. So on our list in our item builder, we are going to create each item. So each chat message item is be like this. So we can pass the message that we have. Then in here we are going to align the messages. If the sender ID is not equal to friend's ID, we can align it to the start, or we can align it to the right. So this is the alignment. So here, this is the display name. So far, we are not displaying anything. For the display name, it's empty. So this one, we will display it for the receiver. So this is the sender, it's empty. So after doing that, this is the if this message widget is a text, we create this. If it's a if you have another one which is an image, we create the widget for an image so that an image can be shown here or to the right. So this is the real-time application that we introduced. On in the next video, I will show you how to listen to the global messages. Let's say you are in this chat now, and a message was sent, and you want to be notified so that and it will update the chat history. So we can do that also on the next video. And in this video, you can see we are now able to list the messages that we sent. Even if I say hello, if I say hello again, just type hello and we click the send button. You see it was sent. So let's go to the send message and you can clear the message after sending it. Let's search for the message, send message. After sending a message, we just say underscore controller, message controller text. Then we can clear it so that we'll be able to send another message. So let's say hello to and click this. You see, now the list is now having 4 messages, and these are the 4 messages. So the receiver is receiving messages. So if you can check here, if he last time, so the last message we see it will be hello to for both the sender and the receiver. So thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed. You now understand the real-time update from the messages. And right now we are using the chat head for us to get the new messages. And in the next video, we shall try to enhance our real time so that we can listen on both chats and also messages. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you are new to this channel, may you kindly subscribe and click the notification bell, and also like, comment and share the video to anyone. Salut coders.